I guess Friday night really is a great night for football, eh? Today I'd like to talk about a movie called The Last Boy Scout. This movie was written by Shane Black. As a matter of fact, he was the first screenwriter when he sold his script to Warner Brothers, the first screenwriter to make over $1 million on a script. Tony Scott was brought in to direct this film. Joel Silver produced, and they brought in Bruce Willis to star in the movie as Joe Hallenbeck. We also got Damon Wayans in here as Jimmy Dix, an ex-quarterback for the LA Stallions who got thrown out for gambling and drug addiction. Halle Berry in an early film role as Jimmy's girlfriend, a stripper girlfriend. And a role after the Halloween movies done by Danielle Harris as Joe Hallenbeck's daughter, Darian. I remember this, I've always liked this movie a lot. This movie was produced on a budget of $29 million, and upon release, it made $59.5 million. So it made some bucks. And Tony Scott back then was known for doing films like this. He had just come off of Days of Thunder with Jerry Bruckheimer, and that was a hit with Tom Cruise. And going into this movie, teaming with Bruce Willis seemed like a no-brainer. Although doing some research, Tony Scott hated working with Joel Silver a lot. He hated working with Joel Silver. And by all accounts, this was a miserable production to be on. Joel Silver and Bruce Willis were trying to tell Tony Scott what to do, and he wasn't thrilled with that, obviously, for a guy in his position who's made some films that were big hits. I mean, by this point, he'd already had Top Gun, which was a huge hit, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Days of Thunder, and then here he is on the set with people trying to tell him what to do. It's like, Tony Scott was a really good filmmaker, God rest his soul, and here he was on the set, and he had people telling him what to do. But at the end of the day, was the movie any good through all the trials and tribulations? I think so. So let's get into it. We open up on a football night. Friday night's a great night for football, that theme, and they're showing a game. The LA Stallions versus, I can't remember, I think Cleveland. I think that was the team they were playing. And the one football player gets a phone call at halftime, who later on we find out is Milo, one of the main bad guy's henchmen. And he tells him he better start scoring. He's going to regret it. And this is a really cool scene, tragic scene all at one time. The guy takes some pills, goes out in the field, gets the ball on offense, starts running down the field. He shakes off a couple tacklers, and one of the D-backs has come to tackle him. He pulls out a gun and shoots the guy right in the head, and he runs into the end zone, takes his helmet off, and he just says, "Ain't life a bitch," and shoots himself in the head, and that's the start of our movie. And it's an effective scene. It's well shot. It's raining out, and that pretty much sets up the tone of the rest of the movie. Then we're introduced to Bruce Willis's character, who's down on his luck private investigator, which we come to find out later in the movie he used to work for the Secret Service. And his buddy calls him and tells him he's a job for him, running protection for this girl for $500. Then we're introduced to Jimmy Dix, Damon Wayans' character, and he's an ex-quarterback, all-star quarterback, considered one of the best arms in the league, but he got thrown out for gambling and drug addiction. And he's dating Halle Berry, and I'm not going to get into minutiae of every little story detail, but they set up Joe's family life, Bruce Willis's family life, which isn't the greatest. His daughter hates him, and his wife is cheating on him with his best friend, which he finds out, and he still takes the job, though, from his best friend. And his best friend goes to leave the house after Bruce Willis hits him in the stomach, and his car blows up. And here we come to find out his friend was on to something, and he was getting scared. That's why he pawned his job off on Bruce Willis. Well, Bruce Willis goes to the job at the strip club watching Halle Berry's character. And this is the first time Jimmy and Joe meet. And when they go to leave for the night, Halle Berry gets gunned down. And Joe saves Damon Wayans' characters from these bad guys. And this is where we learn where Joe Hallenbeck used to be a Secret Service agent, and he knocked out the senator he was tasked with protecting because he was abusing a woman in his hotel room, and he knocked his teeth out. And then as the plot goes on, we find out that the owner of the LA Stallions wants to make, he's trying to bribe the senator in voting to legalize sports gambling. Because they say in the movie how football's ratings were down, attendance is down, and this is the only thing he thinks can save the beast is by legalizing sports gambling. And he'll pretty much kill or buy off anybody he needs to get this done. Well, he didn't expect Joe Hollenbach to throw a monkey wrench into it. And as the movie goes forward, Joe and Jimmy find out what's going on, and there's a bunch of action scenes in between and a lot of really pithy dialogue back and forth as you'd expect from a Shane Black script. And at the end of the last part of the movie takes place at an LA Stallions game at the Coliseum, and the owner of the Stallions is going to have his henchman Milo execute the senator because the senator won't take the money. And Joe and Jimmy saved the day. And so at the whole movie, Bruce Willis plays it down as he's down this luck guy. He got fired from the Secret Service. And you can tell he's an alcoholic. He doesn't seem to have a purpose in life anymore. But everybody underestimates him. And he's a really tough dude. And when push comes to shove, there's nobody else you'd rather be on your side. And that's what you get from him. I mean, it's basically a version of John McClane almost. But even this part, he's even more down in the dumps and more... Everybody thinks he's a loser, a piece of shit. And he really doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. But he strikes up a friendship with Jimmy along the way, and they solve the crime, and they stop it. And it's actually a really fun movie. I always enjoyed this movie. The action scenes are well shot from Tony Scott. I mean, he's done action movies over and over again over the years. Some are better than others, but this is one of the better ones, I'd say. It's a great script by Shane Black. It's very well written. Now, from all the research I did, the original script was much darker, which seems to be the case with Shane Black. Lethal Weapon script was much darker, and they toned it down. This one was the same way. A matter of fact, they had to tone down some of the violence they shot to get the R rating because they were originally going to get the NC-17, but they cut it down to get the R rating. And it's just a fun movie, and the dialogue back and forth between Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis is great. Now, more research, I found out that they didn't like working with each other, but that was another problem on the set. They hated working with each other, but you wouldn't tell on screen. They look like they're having fun. Danielle Harris is great as Joe's daughter. All the actors do well, and you'll recognize a lot of character actors in there, sprinkled in throughout. And at the end of the day, I've always really liked this movie. I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's definitely one of those movies don't get talked enough about, considering in action circles. But I think it's a really well done film, and I think Tony Scott directed the shit out of it, and Bruce Willis is really good, and it's funny, and it's exciting, and it's all good stuff. And yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. That's it for The Last Boy Scout. I will be back soon with the Jumanji review. I just saw it. I'm a little late to the party on that, but I took my son the other day to see it, and I'll have a review for that one up soon. So thanks. Have a great day, and I'll be back soon. Thanks. Bye.